first grade families, welcome back to our 2020-2021 school year. I'm Miss Ferrer, one of the first grade teachers here. You'll get to meet us all in a little bit, but we wanted to make this video to kind of help you see what first grade's all about. So if you end up having any questions at all, there are 6 of us. So feel free to reach out to your teacher. Comments, we love it. Let us know what we can do to make your life and year easier. We know that there's a lot going on with COVID, so please, we'll get through all of this. And if you have any questions, you can email your teacher, set up a time to maybe Zoom with them. Just let us know what you need.
COVID protocols. Everyone must wear a mask or face covering. Students may take a break from wearing their mask during these times: outside during PE, teacher-directed PE, lunch, and a quick trip to the bathroom for that quick breath break. Frequent hand washing will be encouraged, and there will be no sharing of supplies. Students will be socially distanced whenever possible, and there will be one directional movement throughout the school. The class will move as a group, and we are following the district and school protocols for this, for health and safety of our students. Students will be socially distanced whenever possible, and there is a sanitation station in each classroom. What will lunch be like for your student? Well, they will be served prepackaged lunches, and if buying lunch, the students will not be using the keypad this year. Face coverings will be worn when not eating, and students will be sitting every other seat. No student movement will be in the cafeteria. Students will use the bathroom and be encouraged to use the bathroom before lunch. Tables will be sanitized in between each class. If for some reason your child is not feeling well, a staff member will escort your student to the clinic. Minor issues such as Band-Aids will be taken care of in the classroom by the classroom teacher. Students with approved medication will be picked up at the classroom and brought to the clinic at their scheduled time. A student who exhibits symptoms of COVID-19 will be isolated, and parents will be called as soon as possible.
Now that we've talked about COVID, we're going to get into our learning throughout the school day. We have whole group instruction, small group, which is 3 to 5 students with the teacher, individual, which is one-on-one instruction, and cooperative learning groups, which is 2 to 4 students working together in a group.
Each day in class, we have a reading block, and within that reading block this year, we will be implementing our new instruction that the county has provided, the SIPS instruction, which focuses on phonics, and also the iReady toolkit, which we will be implementing in shared reading and our small group experiences throughout the day. Within our reading instruction, we focus on fiction and nonfiction text. And throughout the week, we do 50% of fiction text and 50% of nonfiction text, so the students can be exposed to the different types of text throughout the day. Within each component, we focus on different elements from the standards, and we make sure that we cover these throughout the year. In kindergarten, your child was introduced to sight words. These words are very important for your child's success in reading. Most of these words are taught by memorization, and we focus on learning the sight words in first grade, which will also enhance your child's reading this year. Another component in our language arts block is Writer's Workshop. Your child will have Writer's Workshop every single day. As their reading improves, you will also see improvements in their writing. We cover different types of writing in Writer's Workshop. We cover narrative, informational, and opinion writing, which your child will be exposed to all year long.
Hi there. So if we take a look at our math curriculum throughout the year, we are definitely taking a very hands-on approach to learning our math curriculum, not only with the types of word problems that we incorporate throughout our learning that are based off of real life scenarios, but we're also making sure that we're hands-on by using the different manipulatives that we have located within the classroom. We are able to use red and yellow counters, tens frames, we have part whole mats, and not only do we have those located in the classrooms, but we know that COVID throws a little bit of a wrench into that. Normally we share all of those things, but as your teachers, we've decided to go ahead and make it so that way those materials are very just student-centered. So each student will have their own set, so that way there's really no sharing and no spreading of extra germs. So some of the math concepts that we spend a lot of time on in first grade are addition and subtraction. That's really the bulk of our learning in first grade. We do addition and subtraction within 10, so numbers 1 through 10, and then we do addition and subtraction all the way up to the number 20. We may touch on regrouping. That really gets hit home next year in second grade, but we do introduce the concept here. We also like to introduce the students to a lot of strategies that they are able to use. So some of these strategies that we use are make a 10, break apart a 10, doubles, near doubles. So I know that this sounds like a lot of foreign language right now, but definitely as the school year goes on, your student is going to master these strategies. And if they don't, they will find one strategy that works best for them. So once again, as you will hear later, we look at the student holistically. So if they don't get one strategy, you know what? It's all good. As long as they find a strategy that works for them, then we are good to go.
In science, we'll be learning about objects in the sky, Earth's resources, matter, motion, living things and their parents, and plant and animal needs. In social studies, some of the concepts that we will be learning about are neighborhood helpers, U.S. symbols, American people, weather, yesterday and today. And going along with those different concepts, we have magazines that we'll be able to read and bring home once we are done with them.
iReady is a huge part of our learning throughout the day. It is mandated that each student receives 45 minutes of iReady in both the subjects of reading and math. There may be time during our school year this time for students to log into the computers and get some of those minutes. If that cannot happen within the school building, then you will have to be utilizing iReady at home. So once again, as I said, students will receive 45 minutes of both reading and math. Both of these programs that they do there are related back to our state standards. So it gives the students some extra practice for what they're learning in the classroom, or maybe a concept that they may have struggled with a little bit within the classroom. You'll learn in a little bit how we are able to also utilize this for an assessment. So whether a student is e-learning or brick and mortar, or depending on how the school year starts out, all e-learning, we have 3 major programs that students are going to be able to utilize at home that is technology based. They're able to use iReady, like we've previously talked about, Mayan, which students were exposed to in kindergarten, and Canvas, our new e-learning platform. Like I said, whether they are brick and mortar or e-learning, it is first grade's goal to start exposing students to the Canvas platform. We're very excited to see how that's going to work this year.
In first grade, we have a few different types of assessments that we do in order to see how your child is progressing. One of the major assessments that we do is a DRA, which is basically it encompasses all the abilities in reading. We talk about fluency, it shows us how the student is reading a book, it tests their comprehension. All these things help us so that we know where they are falling at. Each quarter, we'll try to do that so that we can make sure that your child is on track, and usually that's how we help gauge what to do next to help them. Another example of an assessment that we have is the iReady diagnostic tests. We take those 3 times a year. The first one we'll take at the very beginning, the second one in the middle of the year, and one at the end. That is also something that we use to measure the growth across the year. And that will test their reading abilities and their math abilities. So we'll go to the computer. It is a computer-based test. And then we'll see what the data comes back. It'll help drive those teachers' instruction. And then we'll go from there. Not only do we have formal assessments, but we also have informal assessments. So what that means is that we take a look at the child holistically. We don't want to just gauge them based off of a test score because they're more than that. And so what we do as teachers is we are working with them constantly in smaller groups. We're working with them one-on-one. With COVID, that's going to look a little bit different, but you'll learn about that. And we basically just make sure that the child is still on track, and then we can do mini little lessons with them to make sure that they're okay. Some other types of assessments we have are like math tests and things like that, but those are more just to like check where they're at. And last but not least, in our classrooms and e-learning, we'll have workbooks or notebooks that we use so that your child can practice what they're learning in class, and we kind of use those as well to gauge where they're at, because sometimes, you know, tests don't show the best self. So we make sure to cover all of our bases with the notebooks as well. Oh, yeah. All right.
Oh, great. Classroom and school community is really important to Hammond Elementary. So our first grade team will always make sure that everyone is kind and respectful to others. So we will learn that we are a school family. Depending on whether you are brick and mortar or e-learning, we will have different expectations, and your teacher will let you know what your expectations are for your class.
Communication between home and school is really important. The main way that we communicate with parents is through the agenda, which goes home every day and comes back to school the next day. It's best that parents take a look at the agenda every day and then sign it so that teachers know that the parents are taking a look at their students' behavior and anything important that goes home from school that day. Of course, you can always call teachers, and email is best. Teachers typically check their email at least twice a day, once in the morning and after school. But probably the quickest and most efficient way is either the agenda or emailing the teacher. Now let's talk a little bit about grades. In first grade, teachers take a look at a student's growth holistically over the 9-week period, which means it's not simply based on grades that they get on test. Some things that we take into consideration are, of course, assessments, but also teacher observation, group work, and their classwork.
Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the Media Center will be closed for now. Later on in the year, there might be ways where we can get students books, but as of right now, it's closed, and you will have access to books digitally, either on Mayan, Access 360. You can also access books through the public library digitally, and we will give more information about the Media Center opening once we have that information.
All right, so with that, we want to leave you with some final notes. We know there's a lot of information that's been thrown at you, so we just want to make sure that you keep in contact with us. We want to make sure that you're communicating with your child's teacher. That's going to be the first person you're going to want to talk to because they're going to know the most about what's going on in your individual situation. The next thing we want to remind you of is that every night, whether you're e-learning or you're here at school, brick and mortar, make sure that you're checking the planner. Well, I'm not sure how e-learning is doing it right now, but they will make sure to let you know. So with your planner, just make sure you check it, sign it. Sometimes we'll write you notes, sometimes there'll be forms in there. Just make sure to check it. Next, we want you to make sure to join our wonderful PTA. PTA here does things like they help us get technology, they help us with getting our playgrounds covered. They're amazing, and they just want to support our school. So please help us in doing that. And then last but not least, we know that COVID-19 is going on, and we want to be here for you, and we want to be here for your children. So please just know that we are working hard to make sure that this is a smooth transition, and we are so excited for the school year.
It's going to be a great year this year. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us.